Hey everybody, welcome back to Hot Cakes and Hot Reads. Uh, I'm Adam Gilbert Cole. I'm the Adult Services Librarian from William Jeans Memorial Library. I am a little loopy today, if you can't tell. Um, Thanks, as always, to William Jeans Library patron John Lewis for the idea for Hot Cakes and Hot Reads. Today we're going to talk about good books and we're going to make a pancake recipe, as always. I want to say happy fall weather, everyone. This is my favorite time of year. When you wake up and it's nice and cool in the morning and you can stay snuggled under the blankets for a little bit. And then in the afternoon, it's still warm enough to go outside and do some mulching or get your beds ready. Um, so fall weather means back to school. We've got a lot going on at the library right now, too. The exciting thing is post Labor Day, we've expanded our open hours for limited services, so book browsing, holds pickup, that sort of thing. You can check out our website, jeanslibrary.org, for more information about those expanded services and to look at our events calendar. That's at jeanslibrary.org/events. This week coming up, there are book club discussions on Zoom for a book we were supposed to discuss in March. I wonder what happened in March. Called A Woman Is No Man. You can get more information about how to get the Zoom link on our website there. We have virtual trivia nights coming up over the next 2 weeks, an I Love 70s virtual trivia and a Pokemon virtual trivia. So that one skews a little younger for the teens and the kiddos. Happy fall. Our Friends of the Library group is continuing or bringing back their book sale fundraiser in a modified form. So they did a lot of hard work getting set up for the book sale outside in our parking lot this past weekend. It was really well attended, and they're being very careful about social distancing, asking people to sign up ahead of time. So more information about that at jeanslibrary.org. All that stuff is on our website. Especially a big thanks to the Friends of the Library for setting up that book sale again. They provide a lot of funding for library programs and some of our circulating items like museum passes. So their hard work is super appreciated by staff and I hope community alike. All right, so today we're going to talk about, like I said, good books and a good pancake recipe. The books are all available in some form or another in our library catalog. You can go to our website, I keep saying that, jeanslibrary.org, or a direct link to the catalog, mclink.polarislibrary.com. But some of these books are also available in our digital downloadable collection in ebook and audiobook format. So you can find that on our website or download the Libby app on your smartphone or your tablet. You can get logged into your library with your library barcode number. And bonus, the Free Library of Philadelphia offers their collection to people who have a library card. And if you live in Pennsylvania, you are entitled to a Free Library of Pennsylvania or Free Library of Philadelphia library card. So you can apply on their website. If you have any questions about any of that, leave a comment on the event page or email me at acole, ACOLE, at mclink.org, MCLINC.org. Whew, okay, that's all the business out of the way. Today's pancake recipe is something inspired by desserts a little bit. It fits in that kind of tasty space. When I saw the recipe, I knew it was something I had to try. So today we're actually making carrot cake pancakes. We'll call them carrot pancakes. I really love carrot cake, and I really love that like wonderful burst of spice that you get when you bite into it, and the cream cheese frosting on top. And so we're gonna make it in pancake form today and see how it turns out. So let's show off our ingredients. The first thing I did, and I did it off camera because it can get loud, is I made the cream that's going to get drizzled over the top. For the cream, it is 4 ounces of cream cheese, a 1/4 cup of powdered sugar, 3 tablespoons of milk, and then the recipe calls for a teaspoon of orange zest from an orange, but I really love citrus zest. so there's probably more like 2 teaspoons in here. Um, and then it gets mixed together with a hand mixer. It's loud. I didn't want to do it on camera. You can see it's sort of creamy. In this case, it like some of the cream cheese didn't break down. I probably should have warmed up the cream cheese more before I did this so that I could have creamed it better, but I imagine the hot pancakes are going to melt that. So, all right, so that's the cream to get drizzled on top after we make the pancakes. I have 1 cup of all-purpose flour. I have 1 teaspoon of baking powder, a half teaspoon of baking soda, a 1/4 teaspoon of kosher salt. I'm not sure if the kosher matters. Usually I use ground up Himalayan pink salt, but in this case we'll go with the recipe. A 1/4 teaspoon of ground ginger. We're starting to get those yummy spice flavors. A half teaspoon of ground cinnamon. And 2 tablespoons of chopped pecans, which are going to go in the mix, and some more for toppings later. So that's off to the side right now. I'll sprinkle those on when we get a chance. There's 1 beaten egg that we're going to combine with the wet ingredients. There is a cup of milk. Voila. There is half a teaspoon of vanilla extract. This is a lot of ingredients. This might be more than we've ever done before. 2 cups of grated carrots. Lots and lots of grated carrots. And then I have butter melting in my 200-degree oven because that's where the pancakes are going to go after I make them. 3 tablespoons of melted butter goes into the batter, and then I have a dab of butter to grease the griddle for when we get to that point. All right, so those are the ingredients. I'm going to start by mixing the dry ingredients while I talk about our first book, which is American Spy by Lauren Wilkinson. Hi, Sarah. Hi, John. American Spy by Lauren Wilkinson. All right, so this is sort of outside of my normal fare, but a friend recommended it whose taste I really trust. Hi, Anne. I doubt you'll see this since you're up in Toronto. But so this is a domestic spy thriller, like I said, sort of outside of my normal reading range. But it centers on Marie Mitchell, who's a former FBI agent, and she's a black woman. She's a mother of twin sons. And so the book is already set up for a sort of different dynamic. You know, the spy, those like red-blooded American spy thrillers tend to star the like, you know, muscled CIA agent who goes off and saves the world. And it's always a white dude. And so in this case, Marie, the book starts off with a literal bang. Marie wakes up to hear noises in her house, and decides just in case to grab her handgun from the side of the bed, and just in time because a man enters her bedroom and a fight ensues, and Marie gets bruised pretty badly, but the man gets a bullet in his head. And from there, the book moves on. This is set sort of in the present day, and the book is framed as a letter from Marie to her twin sons in case she's not around, to tell them the story of why she's moved them from America to the Caribbean, where her mother has been for decades, because they're going to have questions and she wants to be able to answer them. And I'm not going to tell you too much more about the plot. I want to talk about why it really, why, even though it's in a genre I wouldn't normally read, I really loved it, because it does that. Like, there's a lot more than just the dramatic action tension going on. The book is, you know, like starring a black woman in a pretty traditionally white conservative male space in the FBI, in the intelligence community, that sort of thing. So there's already a lot of interrogation of that dynamic, and she ends up doing some questionable things for the CIA during the Cold War. So it's set during the 60s, 70s, and 80s. And those questionable things are acknowledged as questionable, which is another thing that you don't often find in these kind of spy thrillers set during the Cold War. the CIA had a hand in a lot of morally ambiguous stuff during that time, and so it's nice to see or to read, I guess, a book that acknowledges those things. But the book is also just really exciting. It is a spy thriller, and so like it just propels itself through the story. It's never less than exciting as we go through the story of her entrance into the FBI and her recruitment by the CIA and her sort of unraveling a mystery about her sister who was also in the CIA and subplots and subplots, and there's a lot of entanglement, and everything just works together in a really great tapestry. So, American Spy by Lauren Wilkinson, available in hard copy and audiobook in our catalog, ebook in the Libby app. All right, I said I was going to mix my dry ingredients, but I got so excited talking about that book that I didn't do that. So, we're going to whisk our flour, the baking powder, the baking soda, the salt, the ginger, the cinnamon, and the pecans all together here. I might have chopped those pecans up a little too, or not enough. We will see when it comes time. All right, I need a whisk. There's my whisk. All right, so we're going to whisk that up so that it's blended together nicely so that you don't get a pocket of cinnamon or a pocket of ginger in this stuff. And while that's happening, or while I do that, after I've done that, we're going to mix together the wet ingredients also. So, the egg, the milk, the vanilla, and one dry ingredient, the brown sugar, goes in here also. And while I beat those together for a little bit, I'll talk about my next book, which is... Hold on. Which is Go Ahead in the Rain. Notes to a Tribe Called Quest by Hanif Abdurraqib. Hanif Abdurraqib is a music critic, a poet, a whole bunch of different things. But the thing I love about this book is that it is what I consider music journalism at its best. Abdurraqib is going to make you love A Tribe Called Quest, even if you've never heard one of their songs, which you probably have. But he is just a brilliant writer. He's one of those people who just crams so much into so little. The first 4 pages of the book are just a history of African music all the way up to the point of A Tribe Called Quest in history, and it's just brilliant writing. The book is a history of the group, A Tribe Called Quest, a biography of its members, but most importantly, I think, for me, it's a personal history that Abdurraqib feels in relation to A Tribe Called Quest. This is what sort of makes music journalism for me, like it's okay reading about what makes an album technically great and that sort of thing, but I don't listen to music. I should stop speaking for everyone. I don't listen to music solely to hear the technical expertise. I listen to it, to remember the way I felt when I heard it the first time, or to, get wrapped up in the emotions that the music is relating to me. And this book is just a really warm and loving and insightful response to the music of A Tribe Called Quest. I guess the one thing that stood out to me when I was rereading reviews to talk about this book is that he makes the case that Tribe makes rap music for his generation's parents, so in a way that leaves the door open for them because they sampled jazz more than they sampled anything else. That looking back on a culture's music and then pulling it into the present day really helped to build their popularity. It gave them, it gave their music a lot of empathy with history, that sort of thing. So I recommend this book highly, even if you don't like hip hop, even if you don't like A Tribe Called Quest. I think it'll make you look at this music in a different way. So, all right. So I've got my wet. I've got my. Oh, I don't have all my wet. My butter is in the oven still. And barely melted, which is perfect. All right, so we're actually going to mix that in after I get everything mixed together here with the spatula. All right, so wet into the dry, and then we will fold it together. Meanwhile, I'll turn on the griddle and move my cream off of the griddle so that it doesn't completely burn. All right, so I've got this mixed together so that we get the dry incorporated into the wet. And next is the butter. Don't want to burn my hands. Always make a big mess with this. And mix that in. And then we fold in the prime ingredient, which is the carrots. Otherwise, it's really just a gloppy mess of flour and spices, which I guess is every pancake recipe. All right, so that's a lot of carrots. I grated the carrots very fine because I really like just that texture. You can grate them bigger if you sort of like a little more crunch, although they should cook pretty well on the griddle. All right, so we're gonna let this sit and incorporate while I talk about the next book. Let the leaveners do their job as they release CO2 into the mixture. All right, so we talked about American Spy. We talked about Go Ahead in the Rain, Notes to a Tribe Called Quest. That last one, by the way, only available in hard copy in our catalog. All right, so the next one, and I'm going to butcher this name, everybody, but it's called Lakota America by Pekka Hamalainen. He is Scandinavian, and so the name is sort of unfamiliar to me. All right, I relied a lot on reviews putting this week's narrative together just so I could, like, you know, reach out and find ways to say things that I always say. The New York Times says that this book is renders the Lakotas as the full protagonists. It's an American story with their contributions. My butter is melting, everyone. With their contributions on full display. And sort of in a way that the book is making an argument about the way the history of our indigenous peoples is told. Which I think is a very important thing to acknowledge, that they don't always get told in a way that honors their traditions and histories. So, it is a full-scale history of the Lakota Nation. It's the New York Times reviewer says that Hamalainen has a novelist's eye for detail, which the best nonfiction does, I think, in pulling out representative stories and events and using them to sort of extrapolate from there. The book is long. And so it's not something I think that you'll probably sit in one reading. And as is the case with a lot of these, a lot of histories of subjugated peoples, displaced peoples, it's not always easy reading. Although there are a lot of joyful stories, and there's a really oh, my vanilla didn't get in either. Everybody, boy, can't forget the vanilla. Hamalainen does a very good job of not making this, of making this a very broad and nuanced look at the Lakota Nation. It is important to note that this is a story of the Lakota Nation told by a European white man. So, you can do a quick Google search and find that there are some responses to the book where people take issue with some of his retellings of points in history of the Lakota Nation, and that there are, some aspects of his transliterations of Lakota language, or basically like full translations of Lakota language that maybe don't accurately convey the meaning or treat it with the respect that it deserves. Which is one of the things that I find so frustrating about reading histories of displaced peoples. Because they have been displaced for so long, it's sometimes hard to find someone who can write the appropriate history in this way. Academia is still rooted in a really white colonial milieu. I don't know what the word is that I'm looking for. Anyway, I'd love to read a book about the Lakota Nation written by a Lakota person at some point in the future. In the meantime, this seems like the most sensitive approach to, or the most sensitive book on the topic. All right, so I'm going to start pouring these off so you guys can see what they look like when they get done, because my butter is starting to brown. Oh no! All right. But that is Lakota America by Pekka Hamalainen, our third book today. Our next book I will show off as soon as I am done putting the pancakes on the griddle here, but it is a book by Ya Jassy, who is a Ghanaian-born but raised in Alabama writer since she was little. She just put out a new book, and the new book has a holds list in the library catalog a mile long, and so I'm going to suggest her debut book from 2017 as an alternative if you haven't read it yet, or even if you have read it, and just encourage you to go back and read it, because I think it's one of those books that deserves, I don't know, to be reread periodically throughout one's life. So the book is called Homegoing, and as I said, the author is Ya Jassy. This is not going to make a ton of pancakes, everybody. I'm about to expand for my family after this. All right, so there is Homegoing. I may have talked about this to somebody else in the past who is watching this right now. It was probably my favorite book of 2017. It is an intergenerational story of families that result from the sort of splitting of two half-sisters in Ghana in the 18th century. One is married off to an Englishman on the Gold Coast. So we see what happens with her family through the generations in what is present-day Ghana. The half-sister that is not married to the Englishman is captured in the slave trade and taken to America. And so we see what happens with her family in America through the ages, through the years up to contemporary time. So, trigger warning, there's a lot of terrible things that happen in this book, as you can guess from the subject matter. There's sexual violence, there's a really brutal scene of actual violence. There are also really tender family moments. There are really exquisite scenes of like religious ecstasy and surreal description. The book really does kind of have everything, and each chapter is told from a new generation's viewpoint. So you just see the building blocks of these stories pile on top of each other until we get to the present day. It is just a gorgeously written book. Her sentences are exquisite, and she deals with the subject matter in like a both real, tender, authentic way. I still think about this book periodically through since I read it in 2017. I don't know. I can't say anything more about it. It's an amazing book, and I think everybody should read it. All right, this is almost done. I am going to do, as they are cooking on their second side here, a book lightning round. So hopefully this will go well. It's my first book lightning round. We'll see if you guys dig it. This one is for Catherine. Hello, Catherine. She's my coworker. We were just talking about the author Joe Walton this week, who is a I don't know if I call her a science fiction writer. She writes in science fiction, she writes in fantasy, she writes really strange alternate history novels. Her book, among others, is a prize-winning book, a Nebula Award winner, among other things. And so this one is called Or What You Will. It's her most recent, and it is starring an aging 73-year-old award-winning author of 30 novels over 40 years. The co-star of the book is an idea that's been living in her head for all that time. And the idea is acknowledging that Sylvia, the author, is getting old and trying to figure out how it can live past Sylvia's life, maybe. Sounds weird. I'm excited to read it. This is In Our Prime, How Older Women Are Reinventing the Road Ahead by Susan J. Douglas. This book is a look at how our culture washes away the experiences of older women, how the obsession with youth and youthful beauty totally obliterate the experience of seeing women on screen, reading about older women, seeing them in magazines, seeing them anywhere, and what we can do about that. It takes a hard look at the beauty, beauty and healthcare industries, and among other things. So, In Our Prime, How Older Women Are Reinventing the Road Ahead. This is, and I'm gonna have to flip book or pancakes in just a second. This is The Future Earth by Eric Holthaus. He is a journalist who has been covering climate change for a long time. And this book, I don't know, maybe you, like me, have been watching and seeing news reports lately about ice shelves melting and places in Antarctica that will soon be, sorry, I gotta reach for a plate here, everybody, that will soon be completely gone, and Greenland losing most of its glacier mass, and you are feeling a little overwhelmed by it all. And so this book, The Future Earth, is a look at what we can do, not just to solve these crises, but also sort of to look at it with an optimistic eye, in that, you know, we have scientific responses to some of these things if we can just convince people to go along with them. He is a great journalist, and his book is well written, so I would check it out if I were you. Another good book that I loved when it first came out, which I think is in 2011, Open City by Teju Cole. This book does not have too much of a plot to it. It's really about a man walking around New York City, which doesn't sound compelling until you start to read it. The narrator's descriptions of the city, his experiences in New York City, of being a half-black man, sort of born a half-black immigrant too, how he feels outside of the experiences of African Americans, but still not inside the dominant culture. It's just a really lovely look at the way that a city is built, and the way that you can lose yourself in a city and find yourself in a city. So, Open City by Teju Cole. And the last book that I'm going to talk about is Anthropocene Rag by Alex Irvine. If you were looking for a far future Western sci-fi starring in artificial intelligence, read Anthropocene Rag. If that doesn't sound exciting to you, I'd probably choose something else, because the book is a little odd, but it takes all these strange genres that you probably wouldn't otherwise think of mixing together. Westerns and sci-fi and myth, and sort of blends them all into this great, weird mix. And that is today's lightning round. Alright, everybody, I got pancakes to show off here in just a second, if you will hang with me. They look delicious. I can't wait. Alright, so those are bubbling. These are today's pancakes. You can barely see the carrot in them, actually. I'm a little disappointed, but they smell lovely, like ginger and cinnamon, and as I serve them, I'm going to pour that orange cream over top and give them a delicious desserty flavor. All right, everybody. Thanks for coming as always, to watch me make pancakes and talk about good books. I'm going to, as I always do, link the books in the events page here on Facebook and on our calendar, jeanslibrary.org. You can see more events coming up for adults, for kids, for teens. There's a lot going on, even though all of it is virtual these days at the library. Um, Thanks as always, John Lewis, for giving me the idea for hot reads and hot cakes. It's a delight. I'll see you again in 2 weeks on the 27th of September.